This is the story of the shortest player in the NBA who was so good that he cooked every single defender.
I've always been counted out my whole life. He's doing all right, but he's still too small. I just wanted to show people I could play.
Isaiah Thomas. He's not human. Isaiah Thomas is a machine.
No other guard would even look me in my eye because they knew what it was. They knew I was coming. They knew a 30-piece was coming.
Height is one of the most important attributes for an NBA player, but here in the 2011 NBA draft, a player expecting to hear his name called is motivated to show that heart is always more than height. The 5'9" Isaiah Thomas, the shortest player in the draft. 152 players have entered their names into this draft, but only 60 of them will hear their name called on this night. Thomas is hopeful that he'll be one of those names called like he has always dreamed of.
I had a team at the end of the first round that said they might pick me, but I was projected to be started of the second round, maybe middle of the second round at the latest.
But as the second round arrived and names kept getting called, Isaiah Thomas was not one of them.
At that point, I'm like, damn, I might not even get drafted. Dang, it might be over. My mom calls me and she asks, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just, surprised. She read a Bible verse to me. She said, well, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. I get off the phone with her. My agent calls me like, Sacramento's going to pick you with the last pick.
With the 60th pick, the Sacramento Kings select Isaiah Thomas from the University of Washington. Good night, New Jersey.
My goal going into the draft, I said, whether I get picked first or last, I just want to hear my name called. At the end of the day, I just wanted to hear my name called. That's been a goal of mine my whole life. I got a chance. This is all I asked for.
Isaiah Thomas was given a huge opportunity by the Sacramento Kings, but standing at 5'9", the odds were always against him in the sport of basketball. And being the 60th pick, there was no guarantee that the Kings would even sign him to the roster. Being selected here in the draft was just the beginning to his NBA journey.
It really still hasn't hit me that I've got drafted, but it's just a blessing from God because myself, I've been doubted my whole life. I mean, I'm 5'9" on a good day.
The average height of an NBA player in 2011 was 6'6", and Isaiah Thomas would be the shortest of them all. But luckily for him, he was actually going to get a shot here in Sacramento, as the year before, the Kings only won 24 games. He had a real place not just on this roster, but in this team's rotation. During his rookie season, Thomas was established as the team's sixth man and even started in 37 games, averaging 11.5 points per game to go with 4 assists, which would be enough for him to make the all-rookie second team. For the month of February, Thomas would even win the Rookie of the Month award, the first time that the last pick in the draft ever accomplished this, and for good measure, he did it twice, winning the award in March. This was a huge success for the last pick of the draft. He had already surpassed the general expectations, but he wasn't even close to done.
I'm 5'9", like I said before. 5'9" guys don't start in the NBA. I know that going in, but I'm gonna work, I'm gonna keep working.
Thomas's second season in the league would end up being comparable to his first, putting up nearly the same numbers as his rookie campaign. But his third year in the league would be his breakout year, averaging 20 points and 6 assists per game, joining a list of just 4 other players to ever put up those numbers or better in the history of the NBA under 6 feet. The work that IT had put in over the last few years had made him near unguardable. On a nightly basis, he was destroying defenders with his ability to blow by anyone off the dribble and finish plays with his high arcing jump shot and crafty moves inside. Not only had Thomas found a place in this league, he had made a serious name for himself in this league, becoming a player that fans love to watch, the shortest player on the court, making his opponents look like fools.
You're not as tall as anyone else, but yet you're most competitive. What would you say to someone, that's not as tall in the league and yet being able to compete at the level you are?
You gotta have a heart, big heart, and have no fear in you and no back down in you. I just go at the other player because I know he's gonna go at me, so that's my mentality every time I step on the floor.
How'd you develop a big heart and strength that you...
People always telling me what I couldn't do. People always telling me I was too short. And that was motivation for me, and I love proving people wrong.
This was a huge year for IT, one in which he became the shortest player to ever record a triple-double and one in which he scored a new career high of 38 points against OKC. And that career high came in a loss, a bad trend here for Sacramento as they finished the year 28-54. But IT chose a good season to have his breakout year as his rookie contract had expired and he was now set for a nice payday. With the Phoenix Suns interested in his services, the Kings gave him a new contract and shipped him off to the Suns in a sign-and-trade deal. IT had now secured a 4-year, $27 million contract, and this was only his second contract in the league. He had the potential to go so much further. In Phoenix, Thomas will be joining a very interesting roster to say the least. The Suns already had 2 point guards in Eric Bledsoe and Goran Dragic who were starting, which meant IT would have to come off the bench. But early on, it was working better than expected as by the All-Star break, they were on track to make the playoffs as the 8th seed. Thomas excited to potentially be making the playoffs for the first time in his NBA career. But this excitement wouldn't last as before NBA action resumed from the All-Star break, the Phoenix Suns traded Isaiah Thomas to the Boston Celtics. He was now joining a team that was 20-31 outside of the playoffs as the 12th seed in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics were coming into a rebuild, having traded Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce in 2013 and Rajon Rondo earlier in December of the season. They were a team that was looking for their next star to get back to their winning ways as a franchise. But Isaiah Thomas was upset with this trade. He was on a team in Phoenix that was in the playoff picture and now on a team in Boston outside of it. But shortly after receiving this news, he got a call.
First person who calls me, the older Isaiah Thomas. He like, I know you probably emotional, you got a lot of things going on right now, but this is going to be the best move of your career.
Despite all of the battles the Pistons' great Isaiah Thomas had with the Celtics back in the day, he was confident that this move would work out well for IT being in Boston. But he was still skeptical about this move, though it didn't take long for him to feel at home in the Celtics green, with head coach Brad Stevens assuring him.
From the first day I met him, he said, be the best Isaiah Thomas you can be. We love you for who you are, and that's why we brought you here. They didn't care that I was a scoring point guard. They didn't care that I did those types of things. So he loves me for who I am, and I appreciate that for him.
And over the final stretch of the 2014-2015 NBA season, the Boston Celtics went 20-11, their offense led by their newly acquired six-man and leading scorer Isaiah Thomas. The team had climbed the ladder in the Eastern Conference to secure the 8th seed and a spot in the playoffs, while Thomas's former team in Phoenix saw the opposite happen, falling outside of the playoffs after Thomas's departure. IT averaged 19 points per game for the Celtics and even finished as the runner-up for the Sixth Man of the Year award, but most importantly, he was in the playoffs for the first time in his NBA career. Unfortunately for the Celtics, their first round matchup was LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who would win this series in a sweep. But Isaiah Thomas led the Celtics in scoring with 17 a game to go along with 7 assists in his first ever playoff series. Thomas was now the man in Boston, their clear-cut best player, but he was still facing the challenges of being the shortest player in the league.
I remember Brad Stevens coming to me in preseason, and he's like, man, you're obviously our best player, but for this team, it'll be best for you to come off the bench. Like, that hurt me, because I worked hella hard that summer. I'm like, this is a good opportunity. I'm going to be starting. It hurt, but I'm like, okay, I get it. It's all good.
Coming into the season, Stevens preferred a starting lineup with Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart as the guards, with IT coming off the bench as a sixth man to provide an offensive spark. But early into the season, an injury to Marcus Smart pushed Thomas into the lineup, and this game, he dropped 27 points on the Indiana Pacers, stepping up in Smart's absence. But a Smart return from his injury, Avery Bradley has some issues of his own, keeping IT in the starting lineup for the time being, and IT continued to thrive in the starting lineup. He was showing that he absolutely could be the starter for this team.
I didn't know if that opportunity was ever going to come, but I knew one thing, I was going to be prepared for it if it did.
With how well Thomas was playing, it only made sense now for Brad Stevens to make him a full-time starter. He was everything for the Celtics offense, being way better with him on the floor. He got his opportunity and he made the absolute most of it. The Boston Celtics were Isaiah Thomas's team.
What a move by Isaiah Thomas, who is putting on a show. Block from behind, a chase down block by the 5'9" Thomas. Oh, Thomas gets inside and banks it in. Razzle-dazzle from Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas was having a career year as the starter in Boston, averaging 21 points and 6 assists per game by the All-Star break, with the Celtics having the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. And all this meant that he would be voted into his first ever All-Star game. Thomas became the shortest player to ever make an All-Star appearance, tied with the 5'9" Calvin Murphy. And in this game for the Western Conference All-Stars, he dropped 9 points, including a ridiculous shot over his mentor Kobe Bryant. Thomas finished the season averaging 22 points and 6 assists per game as the Celtics finished with with a 48-34 record, the 5th seed in the East, and another playoff appearance, this time with a more favorable matchup in the Atlanta Hawks. By the way, if you're watching this right now, there's nearly a 97% chance that you're not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can watch so many more great videos on other players just like this one. Coming into the series, the Celtics were confident, but their confidence got shaken as the Atlanta Hawks took both games 1 and 2 to begin the series in full control. IT had a tough performance in that Game 2 loss, but he would bounce back in a big way.
Thomas will pop. He got it. Thomas, nifty. To the rim. 1 out, 3. Thomas flips it up and in, plus the foul. Thomas, couldn't gather, now does. Another 4 to shoot. A bomb from Thomas. It's gone. Boston is on the board in the 2016 postseason.
Thomas became the 9th player in Celtics history to score 40 points in a playoff game, joining an elite list of Hall of Famers.
Well, a good chunk of those guys, their numbers are hanging from the ceiling in here, and Isaiah Thomas, just a remarkable performance.
Thomas followed this Game 3 masterclass with a 28-point performance in Game 4, leading Boston to another win and getting them right back into this series. But in Games 5 and 6, Thomas wasn't able to do enough to get his team past the Hawks, an upsetting loss for this team as they felt that they could have won this series.
Isaiah, is this the toughest loss you've had to endure so far?
Yes. It was very emotional for me, just because we gave it our all. I mean, we never put our head down, and like I said, this group of guys is something special, and I mean, I gave it my all, so that's why it hurts that much more. I wish I could have done more, but it just happened to be like that, so it is tough for me. This should hurt everybody, and then we can come back next year even stronger.
Isaiah Thomas spent that offseason working harder than ever. He never wanted to experience a first-round defeat like that ever again. In Boston, the standard has always been to strive for championships, and Thomas wanted to be a part of a team that added more legacy to the Boston Celtics franchise. Before, he was putting in all the work he did just to secure a spot in the league. Now he was working to become a champion in that league, and all this work had created a 5'9" monster.
Isaiah for 2, defended by Barnes. Good screen from Johnson. Isaiah got it!
What a move by Thomas. Got it in over Whiteside.
Thomas, who's been troublesome. Good defense by Shar. It's got it off and in anyway. Thomas to the basket.
Isaiah Thomas began the 2016 to 2017 season scoring at least 20 points in 20 of the first 21 games, averaging 26 points per game and leading the Celtics to the 3rd seed in the East so far, just 3 games behind the 1st seed Cleveland Cavaliers. It was a career year, and he would soon have a new career high.
Jumper. That was a tough shot. Isaiah off to the races, finishes. Isaiah, little heat check. It's another. The man's hot. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. 29 for Isaiah. Isaiah got it. And Isaiah pull up. Got it. 7 threes in the game for Isaiah. He's got 40.
Isaiah Thomas willed the Celtics to victory in this overtime against Memphis with a new career high of 44 points, but that only lasted for a week and a half.
Isaiah.
You were unstoppable. What does that feel like?
I don't know. You just get in the zone and you feel like you're in a gym by yourself.
It's the 4th highest scoring output of any Celtic in franchise history. MVP chants broke out. What does that mean to you?
A blessing from God. I mean, you dream about things like that, especially playing for the Celtics, getting MVP chants, all the great players that did it before me.
With Thomas scoring 29 of his 52 points in the 4th quarter, he set a franchise record for the most points ever scored by a Celtic in a single quarter. And it couldn't have come at a better time, as this effort pushed the Celtics ahead to win this game. He was having an incredible start to the season, but it only continued to get crazier.
Every night I knew I was getting 30. No other guard would even look me in my eye because they knew what it was.
Now 4 of 7. That's his first shot of the second half. Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah gets him in the air. Very good shot. Wow. It is Irving and DeRozan who ultimately are going to start the game. Isaiah takes him in the paint, gets two. He's now called for a foul against Isaiah Thomas. This is here. Thomas, he was hit by Drummond, got it to fall, a foul. There'll be a lot of people remembering this kid forever.
Because what Isaiah Thomas is doing is outrageous, and he just keeps doing it. Wednesday night against Toronto, he had 19 of his 44 in the fourth, and a fantastic back-and-forth game with the Raptors. But it's only the second-best fourth quarter Thomas has had this week, as he scored 24 of his 41 in a win over Detroit Monday. Both games were coin flip games late, and the Celtics won both because nobody could stop the tiny little guy who wears the appropriate uniform number 4. He's only 5'9". He was the last pick of the second round when he was drafted, and there already was a legend named Isaiah Thomas. Whatever reasons people might have had for sleeping on this right now, this here's your wake-up call. Enjoy the show. Make sure you stay until the end, because that's when it gets really good.
For the month of January, Isaiah Thomas averaged 32.9 points per game, being named the Eastern Conference Player of the Month and even placing his name inside the NBA's MVP race.
At one point, I might not even thought I was going to be MVP, but now I do. I'm going to keep going. I mean, I'm not trying to play for MVP. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's definitely a goal of mine in my career at some point, and I'm going to just keep playing.
And now here at the NBA All-Star break, Thomas was of course selected, now making his second appearance as an All-Star. But this time around, the energy was a lot different towards him.
That year, the energy was different. I'm walking into them rooms, they're dapping me up different. They're like, oh, he's one of them ones. Like the first year, they're like, congratulations, you made it. The second one, they dapped me up like I'm one of them.
And this time around, IT got to put on more of a show, dropping 20 points in this All-Star game. While that was fun, IT had his sights set on securing the first seed in the East here during the final stretch of the season, trailing the Cavaliers in the standings by still just 3 games. Also, I just want to let y'all know if y'all want early looks at upcoming videos. I always post trailers on my Instagram and Twitter, and sometimes even behind the scenes looks, so y'all go follow me over there to see when something new is on the way. The Celtics continue their pace with Thomas leading the way, trying to chip away at the Cavs' 3-game lead in the conference, but an injury scare during a game in mid-March sparked some concern in Boston as Thomas got injured on a play where Karl Anthony Towns fell on him. Thomas's injury was diagnosed as a bone bruise on his hip. The Celtics medical staff indicated to Thomas that he could take cortisone shots to deal with the pain and play through the injury, as there would not be risk of re-injury or making the injury worse by taking this route. Of course, Thomas, being told this, decided that he was going to play on. He only missed 2 games with the hip issue and went on to finish the season winning 9 of the final 12 games. The Boston Celtics finished as the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Thomas had led them to this point, averaging 29 points and 6 assists per game, finishing 5th in MVP voting and becoming the shortest player in league history to make an All-NBA team. Thomas was on top of the world heading into the playoffs.
Tragic news affecting Boston Celtics star Isaiah Thomas. His sister was killed in a 1-car accident early Saturday morning, according to Washington State Police. China Thomas died at the scene on Interstate 5 in Federal Way, a city located between Thomas's hometown of Tacoma and Seattle. She was 22 years old. No word on the cause of the crash.
Isaiah Thomas, consoled by his close friend Avery Bradley, still trying to cope with the tragic loss of his 22-year-old sister, China, just yesterday. At a moment of silence here at the Garden, and tears streaming down the face of Isaiah Thomas.
With the playoff game taking place just a day after his sister's passing, Isaiah Thomas made the decision to play through this difficult time, lacing up a pair of shoes with his sister's name written on them in her honor. Thomas dropped 33 points in this game, but it came in a losing effort to the Chicago Bulls. And in Game 2, the Celtics fell again, going down 0-2 in this series. Game 3 was a must-win for the Boston Celtics, and they delivered to get on the board in this series. Thomas then dropped another 33-point game in Game 4, which this time resulted in a win to even this one back up, and the Celtics closed out the final 2 games to make it out of the first round of the playoffs. And the second round would bring more of a challenge for Boston, facing the Washington Wizards. And early into this game, Isaiah Thomas would lose a tooth.
And you'll see the tooth come flying out of his mouth. There it is.
I mean, I've taken 1,000 hits like that and my tooth never came out, so I always say pain is temporary. We're worried about it when the time comes.
Thomas went on to drop 33 points in this game to go along with 9 assists to lead the Celtics over the Wizards. Playing through adversity, Isaiah Thomas was unstoppable.
Isaiah Thomas is not only a special player, he is a special person. Fourth quarter, how's Isaiah play? Money on the line, how's Isaiah play? This dude is money.
Today is my sister's birthday. She would have been 23 today. So the least I can do is go out there and play for her.
But they're going to have to guard him as a team. Isaiah Thomas! Tracked down by Horford. Isaiah Thomas! It's a three! Thomas high screen from Smart. Wall got picked. Thomas to the hoop. It's good and a foul! Pivotal minutes. Thomas. He's got it! 50 seconds to go. Washington up by one. Isaiah Thomas. He's not human! Beal there defensively. Crowder the screen. Isaiah Thomas to the hole! Thomas crosses. Foul called! And one!
Where is this coming from, man? Where is this coming from?
It's my sister. It's her birthday today. Everything I do is for her. And she's watching over me, so that's all her.
Where are you finding not only the strength to play, but to excel in this hotly contested environment?
My family, my friends, they tell me to just keep going. My sister wouldn't want me to stop. The only thing about it is once I leave this gym, I hit reality and she's not here.
After such a remarkable 53-point performance by Isaiah Thomas where he took over the game in the fourth quarter and overtime, the Boston Celtics held a 2-0 advantage. Over the next two games, the Wizards struck back with 2 wins of their own, making this an even series, and the Celtics took the pivotal Game 5 at home. But they did slip up in Game 6 on the road in Washington, and Game 7 was upon us. In that game, IT delivered a 29-point, 12-assist performance for Boston, enough to win the game and head to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the opponent here would be once again the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James. 2 years ago, this team swept Boston, and now they wanted to get back. But just 2 games into the series, that same hip that Thomas aggravated back in March was flaring up again. But it was much, much worse. The pain was one thing, but now he was reaching the point that he couldn't even run, let alone play basketball. He wanted to keep pushing and try to fight through this, to persevere like he had done all playoffs. But he had reached his limit, and the Celtics would lose in this series without him.
I played till I literally couldn't run anymore. I just wish I was able to be healthy and be able to give more, because I felt like we could have won that series.
After being examined by doctors, it was revealed that Thomas's hip had damaged cartilage from the cortisone shots that he was taking, which had caused a new and more serious injury. 2 months before, the Celtics medical staff told Thomas that he'd be fine and there wouldn't be risk of making the injury worse if he played through it and took these shots to take away the pain. And all along, that was entirely false.
Am I ever going to be the same again? Am I ever going to be able to be who I am? When Danny called me, I missed his call. He texted me, IT, give me a call back. Called him back, then he asked me how I was doing. So I said, I just got back to Seattle, I'm chilling, headed home. And then it got a little quiet. He broke it to me, he's like, well, IT, I just traded you.
Jeff, what more can you tell us in terms of where this potential trade stands right now?
The deal is done, Michael. Kyrie Irving to Boston for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, rookie big man Ante Zizic.
I was hurt just because everything that I've done for them, everything that I went through and continue to do for them when I could have just called it quits. I gave my heart to that city and that organization.
I just can't believe you got traded, though.
Do you like the trade?
Yeah, I can't believe Kyrie's on the Boston now. Are you still gonna be an all-star?
Yeah, we still gonna be an all-star, boy. That's not gonna change.
But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The injury Thomas suffered and played through was something that he would never fully recover from. He would never be the same player again. In the middle of the season, Thomas was traded again, this time to the Lakers, and from that point on, he would bounce around to different teams as a journeyman, stuck signing minimum contracts and 10-day deals before eventually being out of the league. After his historic year in 2017, he was set for a max contract with the level he was playing at, but this contract is something that he would never receive.
These niggas gave up on me. They gave up on me.
But one thing is for sure, his run with the Celtics is something that will never be forgotten. Against all the odds, through all the adversity and pain, he showed the world what it looks like to persevere and show that anything is possible.
No matter what you want to be in life, you can be that if you just believe in yourself. I'm here for these kids. I'm here for you guys to realize anything you want to be in your life, you can be. Every day that I wake up, I live a dream that I had since I was your age. A dream that everybody told me I wasn't gonna be able to make it. because I was too small. And I'm not just telling you guys to be an NBA player. Whatever you want to be in life, you can be that.
I'm glad I was able to share with y'all today the inspirational story of Isaiah Thomas becoming one of the best players in the league at just 5'9". And there is plenty more basketball stories on the channel for y'all to check out next, including this one on Dirk Nowitzki and him defying the odds to win one of the hardest NBA championships ever. I'll see y'all there.